I hadn't planned on climbing onto Margaret's roof that morning. I'd planned on coffee, the newspaper, and complaining to nobody about my knees. But then I heard her from my porch, standing in her yard in her robe, staring up at her house like it had personally betrayed her. Problem? I called over the fence. Squirrels, she said, without looking at me. I think they've moved into my attic. I can hear them up there, having what sounds like a very productive board meeting. Could be raccoons. Don't say that like it's better, Walter. I set my coffee down on the fence post, which I would later regret, because a bird immediately claimed it. You want me to take a look? Margaret turned and studied me the way she studied everyone, like she was deciding whether I was worth the trouble. We'd been neighbors for 6 years. Her husband Daniel had passed 2 years ago, and in that time I'd fixed her mailbox, her porch step, and once, memorably, argued with her sprinkler system until it surrendered. But I had never been on her roof. You're 71 years old, she said. I'm aware. You have a bad hip. It's a slightly disagreeable hip. We're on speaking terms. She crossed her arms, fighting a smile. If you fall off my roof, I will be very annoyed at the paperwork. Noted. I'll aim for the bushes. 20 minutes later, I was standing on a ladder that Margaret held with the grip strength of a woman defusing a bomb, and I was regretting every choice that had led me here, including the choice to be born. You're wobbling, she said. I'm adjusting. That's not what adjusting looks like. Margaret, I need you to trust me. I trusted my nephew once when he said he could parallel park. We are not friends anymore. I reached the gutter, and sure enough, there was a hole the size of a dinner plate where something, squirrel, raccoon, possibly a very small dinosaur, had chewed its way into her attic. I peered inside. Something peered back. We regarded each other with mutual disappointment. Well, Margaret called up. It's a raccoon, I said. A big one. He looked me dead in the eye like I owed him money. Oh, for heaven's sake. He's got attitude, Margaret. I respect it, but I don't like it. Get down before you fall, and I have to explain to your daughter why her father died negotiating with vermin. I climbed down slower than I climbed up, mostly because my hip had started sending strongly worded letters. When my feet hit the grass, Margaret exhaled like she'd been holding her breath since I left the ground. I need a tarp, some flashing, and about an hour, I said, and possibly a small offering to the raccoon gods. You don't have to do this, Walter. I know. I mean it. I can call someone. You could. I picked up my coffee, now missing a significant portion to the bird, and drank it anyway. But I'm already here, and I've already made an enemy of a raccoon. Feels like unfinished business. She looked at me for a long moment, the kind of look that used to make me nervous 30 years ago, and, apparently, still did. Fine, she said, but if you fall, I'm telling everyone you did it, trying to impress me. That would at least be partially true. Her eyebrows went up. I decided not to examine what I'd just said, and went to get my tools. The repair took most of the day, partly because roofing at 71 is slower than roofing at 40, and partly because Margaret kept appearing with snacks like I was a general she was keeping fed for a long siege. Lemonade, she announced around 11, handing a glass up the ladder with the focus of a surgeon passing an instrument. Thank you. Don't fall holding it. I only have the one good glass set left. Your priorities are impeccable. By 1, she'd brought sandwiches. By 3, cookies, for morale. Each time she climbed halfway up the ladder to hand things over, gripping the rails like she didn't quite trust gravity, and each time I told her I could come down and she told me not to be dramatic. Somewhere in the middle of all that, the raccoon made a reappearance. He emerged from a nearby oak tree, sat on a branch, and watched the entire operation with the unbothered confidence of a landlord inspecting a tenant's repairs. He's judging us, Margaret said. He's judging me. You, he seems fine with. I never invaded his home. I didn't invade it either. I evicted him from mine. I mean yours. I caught myself. From the attic he invaded. Margaret laughed, a real one, the kind that made her put a hand over her mouth like she was surprised by it. You're very bad at this. At roofing? At talking. I'm excellent at talking. I'm having a small aneurysm from the heat, that's different. By 4:30, the hole was patched, the flashing was secure, and I had climbed down for the final time with the specific soreness of a man who had used muscles he'd forgotten he owned. Margaret handed me a towel and a glass of water and stood back to survey the work like an art critic. Not bad, Walter. High praise. For a man who nearly died twice. I nearly died once. The second time was a dramatic exaggeration on your part. You made a noise like a dying goose. That was a strategic grunt. She was smiling in that soft, unguarded way she rarely let herself do, and for a moment neither of us said anything. The late sun had gone amber, catching the side of her face, and I found myself thinking, not for the first time, that Margaret Ellis had the kind of laugh lines that told you exactly who she used to be, before life started asking so much of her. "Come sit," she said finally. "You've earned it." We ended up on her back porch, the one with the two mismatched chairs that had been there since Daniel was alive, facing a yard gone gold in the evening light. She brought out 2 glasses and a bottle of wine that had clearly been saved for an occasion nobody had gotten around to yet. "To vermin eviction," she said, raising her glass. "To vermin eviction," I agreed. "And to my hip, which fought valiantly." We drank. The porch creaked companionably under the chairs. Somewhere down the street, a dog was arguing with a car alarm and losing. "You didn't have to spend your whole Saturday on my roof," she said after a while. "I didn't have anything better to do." "That's not true. You could have been arguing with the television about the news, which I know is your Saturday hobby." "How do you know that?" "Your windows are open, Walter. Everyone on this street knows your opinions about the weather forecast." I laughed, despite myself. "Fine. I could have been doing that. I chose the roof." "Why?" The question landed heavier than she probably meant it to. I looked at my glass instead of at her. "Because you looked worried," I said, "and I don't like it when you look worried." Margaret went quiet. The porch light hadn't come on yet, so the only light left was the fading gold of the sky, soft enough that I couldn't quite read her expression, which was probably for the best, because I wasn't entirely sure what my own face was doing. "Daniel used to say, I worry the way other people breathe," she said finally, automatically, constantly, without noticing I'm doing it. He wasn't wrong. No. She turned her glass slowly by the stem. It's quieter now, without him. Not peaceful quiet, just quiet, like the house forgot how to make noise. I didn't say anything right away. I'd learned, somewhere in the last 2 years of widowers and widows trading grief across a fence, that the worst thing you could do was rush to fill a silence like that. "I know that quiet," I said eventually. "Ruth's been gone 9 years, and some mornings I still make 2 cups of coffee before I remember." Margaret looked over at me, and something in her face softened further, the careful armor she usually kept up slipping just slightly. "I didn't know that." "I don't tell people. Feels like admitting I haven't figured it out yet." "Have you?" "No," I said honestly, "but I've gotten better at drinking 2 cups of coffee." She laughed, surprised into it again, and reached over to swat my arm. "That's a terrible answer." "It's an honest one." We sat like that for a while, the sky sliding from gold to a deep, bruised blue. The porch light finally flickering on with a small electrical stutter that made us both jump and then laugh at ourselves for jumping. "Walter," Margaret said eventually, her voice quieter now. "Yeah? Thank you, for the roof, and for—" She gestured vaguely, encompassing the porch, the wine, the whole strange gentle day. "This. I haven't had a day like this in a long time." "Me neither." She was looking at me in a way that made the evening feel suddenly very small, like the whole world had narrowed down to this porch, these 2 chairs, and whatever was passing between us that neither of us had a name for yet. "It's getting late," she said, though she made no move to get up. "You should probably get home." "Probably," I agreed, and didn't move either. A long moment passed. The dog down the street had finally won its argument with the car alarm. The wine bottle sat between us, half empty, catching the porch light. Margaret set her glass down slowly, like she was working up to something, and when she spoke, her voice had dropped to something softer, more careful than anything she'd said all day. "Stay a little longer," she said. Then, quieter still, almost like she was surprising herself with it, "Stay the night. You've earned it, Walter." I looked at her, really looked, the way you look at someone when a day has quietly turned into something you didn't expect it to become. And for the first time in longer than I wanted to admit, I didn't have a joke ready. "Okay," I said. "I'll stay." Margaret smiled, small and real, and reached over to refill both our glasses, and the porch light held steady against the dark, like it had decided, for once, not to flicker at all.